everyone, and welcome back to Totally Normal, the podcast hosted by me, Sara Gale. I am a coach and consultant, and I'm a certified giant guide. So let's talk a little bit about what that means and the basis of framework that I coach from. The 5 voices is something that is rooted in the Myers-Briggs testing. It's a quick 20-minute assessment that you take. It's free. I will link it here below so you have access to it and you can start to learn your own voice order. So one thing I always tell people when we start talking about the 5 voices is you are not the voice order itself. You are a whole, layered, complex human being, and the 5 voices is just a starting point. So it's like a compass versus a cage. The last thing we want to do is box people in because this is not that. But what it does do is it helps you notice your natural state, where your defaults operate, right? So it doesn't define the full range of who you are, but it does give you an idea of how you interact with the world around you and how it feels to be on the other side of you. So think of your voices like an instrument in a band. You've got like 1 or 2 that tend to play lead. They're your go-tos. They're the most recognized, but the others are still there, even if they're quieter or underused. And when you're in a creative brainstorm, maybe your connector and creative step forward. And when you're under a deadline, maybe your guardian grabs the mic and your nurturer quietly leaves the stage. That's not inconsistency, that's emotional intelligence, which is the goal. Mature leadership isn't about switching who you are. It's about dialing up the voice that best serves the room, the mission, or the moment that you're in. So when I'm coaching, I lean into my nurturer connector a little bit more. I have more empathy, more energy to make sure that I meet someone where they are and encourage them into the next steps. But when I'm designing systems for my own business, or if I'm supporting someone in project work, my guardian gets focused, like thinking cap is on. It's still me. It's just a different channel of what I can offer. We all have voices that are strong and well practiced, and others that need a little more time to develop. Just because a voice feels a little bit foreign to you doesn't mean that it's missing completely. And just as a review, if you're not familiar with the 5 voices framework, it is the nurturer, the guardian, the pioneer, the connector, and the creative. And you could be any combo of those things. So maybe you've spent years in a culture that rewards one kind of voice: efficiency, decisiveness, results. And now you're realizing that you've underused your curiosity and your empathy. Or maybe you've been the harmonizer for so long that you've forgotten how to take the lead. There's no shame in that. It just means you're noticing the balance and starting to build range. You don't need to be fluent in every single voice. You just need to be aware of your default settings so you can choose rather than react. You're going to choose how you're interacting with people around you, stressors, scenarios, instead of just being triggered or reacting to things. Because that version of ourselves isn't always something we're proud of, right? Under stress, our loudest voices can get a little obnoxious, a little louder than they should be. The pioneer tends to become domineering. The guardian can get very nitpicky. The nurturer kind of withdraws and becomes avoidant. The creative detaches into their own head. And the connector becomes all enthusiasm and no follow through. That doesn't mean the voice is bad. It's just overplaying its part. When you can name that, you can regulate it. You can take a breath and say, okay, I see that my guardian's trying to protect me right now because I'm in an uncomfortable place. Let's dial that back a little bit instead of doubling down on it and raising tension. So that ties beautifully into relational intelligence, which is the awareness of how others experience you and your stress pattern. One of the biggest markers of maturity in leadership is range. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about expanding who you can be when the situation calls for it. We don't want to be one-note leaders. We want to be adaptable, self-aware, and attuned to what's needed. Sometimes that means dialing up your guardian when your team needs structure, or your connector when morale is low. That range is going to create resilience for you and your team in the long run. So when you hear people talk about their five voices, just remember it's not a label, it's a language. It gives us words for the invisible things, the emotions, the processing, the way our hearts and minds move through the world. It's not about putting yourself in a box. It's about learning how to step out of one. Valuing differences in how we think, decide, and work does not slow us down. It compounds our outcomes, and it takes us places we didn't even know we could aim for. This is where science, you know I love science, really backs up what our gut already knows. So research from Catherine Phillips at Columbia shows that diverse groups, both cognitively and demographically, make better decisions because they process information more thoroughly and more holistically. The discomfort in the differences actually sharpens the thinking of you and those around you. Another study published in Science found that teams with high social sensitivity and balanced turn-taking, like in meetings, have key ingredients of inclusive culture, and they outperform groups made of the smartest individuals. If everyone is smart in the same way, you are not advancing. If everyone knows all of the same things, you're only going to get all the same things. Google found this as they were doing their Project Aristotle, and they identified psychological safety as the number one factor in effective teams. Google, you guys, like they poured in so much money, energy, effort to find the answer to what makes the most effective team. And they found that people innovate and problem solve faster when they feel safe to speak up, even when they disagree. And other research, like McKinsey's, continues to find correlations between leadership, diversity, and financial outperformance of your competition. It's not about checking boxes, it's about unlocking brains and approaches. So difference is not disruption, difference is data. And when we can tolerate the stretch, the uncomfortable kind of, ooh, that's different than I do things across these five voices, we get sharper thinking and fewer blind spots. You've probably noticed a shift happening. Some industries are backing away from diversity and equity initiatives, framing it as getting back to merit. But here's the thing. Inclusion is what allows merit to show up. When people feel safe to contribute to their workplaces, to their projects, to conversations, when their perspectives are respected, you actually get more accurate data, more innovation, more growth. And without that, you just get echo chambers, which suck. Sameness sucks when it's the goal to keep going further, bigger, better, faster, stronger, make more money, have a bigger team, have more impact, whatever your goals are. The research hasn't changed. Fear has. I 100% believe that fear is the most destructive thing on the planet because anger comes from fear often. Horrible decisions are made out of fear, and fear tries to shove people into boxes so we can feel in control. Curiosity, on the other hand, makes room for complexity so we can grow. So if you find yourself saying, I want to grow, I want to improve, I want my team to grow, I want them to improve, I want my family to grow, I want my child to grow, my spouse, you got to quit being afraid of things. Little thinking needs tight boxes. Okay, good. I can put that here. Great. I can put that here. Great. Brilliant thinking stays humble. It's curious, respectful, and aware that we always know less than we think we do. That's what real cognitive diversity looks like in practice. It's not tokenism. It's not tolerance. It's curiosity, genuine respect for the people around you. Hey, how are you? What angle are you taking on this problem? I want to hear it because it may be better than mine. And we have to admit that sometimes other people have better ideas than us. So it starts with self. It starts with refusing to let fear guide your actions. And then it leads to really beautiful, sustainable outcomes in business and in your long-term goals. So if you're listening as an individual, if you're listening as a team leader, if you're listening as another coach or consultant, just remember, don't be afraid of things. Know that you have everything in you to navigate through a situation that's unknown. And on the other side is really, really cool stuff. So how do we apply it in like day-to-day leadership? Here's a few ideas you could try this week. In your next meeting, ask, what perspective are we missing? Values and people, which is the nurturer. Future possibilities, which is a creative. Feasibility, is this realistic? Which is a guardian. Connection, obviously a connector. Or direction, from a pioneer. Give everyone space to speak before anyone speaks twice. This was a game changer in my leadership practice. Before I stepped away from nonprofit leadership and government leadership, before I shifted into coaching and consulting, changing how I approached meetings and making sure everyone was heard before one voice took over made every team I led that way so much better. We had such better ideas. I don't just say all this stuff in theory. I've seen it. I've seen it happen. I've seen it work. So if it feels clunky at first because it's new, that's totally normal, you guys. Inclusion adds a beat to the song so it can be better. Just gotta figure it out, catch it. So your voice order is a starting map. It's not a destination. Me personally, my voice order is guardian first, pioneer second, nurturer, connector, then creative. So in that, I can pull from any of them at any given time. But my default, what I have to be really conscious of, is my guardian and pioneer tendencies. Leading with humility, dialing your voice to what the room needs or what the person in front of you needs, not just one that feels comfortable to you, that's going to make all the difference in the world to how you move, the influence you have, how people listen to you. And let cognitive diversity do what it does best. Take you beyond the goal into the good that you couldn't see from the start. Go beyond your own limitations. Because being human is magical. Other humans have such incredible value and insight and experiences to bring. And in that, psychological safety, it's a whole new world. A whole new world. You know what I mean? Aladdin. One of my favorite movies. Thank you guys for listening or watching the Totally Normal podcast with me, Sara Gale. If you enjoyed this conversation and the insights that came with it, I love doing research for you guys. I love bringing it to you and discussing how I've seen it play out in real life. And I would love for you to share this with someone who's leading or learning or just trying to be a little more human and honest with themselves this week. If you want to dig deeper into 5 voices or explore a workshop with your team, you can find links in the notes or in a post that I've shared this with. See you next time. And remember, brilliance isn't about knowing it all. It's about staying curious enough to keep learning. Thanks so much, you guys. I really appreciate you, and I hope your week is awesome.